And we're live. Okay. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a I have to remember to look at the camera. I'm so sorry if at some point I'm looking like slightly down because it's like this little dot and I have to remember to look at it. So let's start over. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. Welcome. And the reason we're here is because I wanted to show you the entire process of creating an entire project, an entire Laravel project using Filament version 3. Naufal, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I'm sorry. Naufal. Hello there. Sorry if I butchered your name right off the bat. But thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. As I was saying, and by the way, I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat from time to time, but when you start coding, you know that you focus. So I will try to keep an eye on the chat every once in a while. So as I was saying, the reason for this stream is because I wanted to show you the entire process of creating a Laravel project using Filament version 3. And I'm glad I did. Thank you. So, what's the project about? I hear no one asking. Well, a little story about this. About a year ago, I had this idea of creating a pet clinic. Well, originally it was like a regular clinic, but I thought that wasn't interesting enough, so I switched it to a pet clinic. So, but at that time, I didn't really have the time to create the project, so I kind of shelved it for a while. And then 6 months ago, I sat down and created a project that was initially going to be an entire video series. And I did it using Laravel, Breeze, Vue.js, and Alpine.js. It took me longer than I care to admit because I had to create everything from scratch using Tailwind CSS, all the sidebar, the admin panel completely. So it took me a little longer than I anticipated. But then again, because I had other video ideas, I couldn't really find the time to write the script and edit the video. So I shelved it again. And then about 3 months ago, I started using Filament version 2. And once I felt comfortable with it, I thought, why not just rebuild that entire project, that entire admin panel, but using Filament. And then Filament version 3 came out, and it was just the right time. And instead of just creating an entire series about the project, and I think that'll take too much time, so I decided, why not just go live and do it in one session? Because why not? What could possibly go wrong, right? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to create a new project. Let me share my screen first. And as I said, we're going to do it in Filament version 3. Let's see how far we can go in one session. I hope we can knock it all out in one session, but we'll see how far we can go. So first thing we need is a new Laravel project, of course. So let's do Laravel new. Let's call it Pet Clinic. Why not use pre-made admin panel? Because I wanted to show off, or I wanted to demonstrate how versatile and how easy it is to create a fully functional admin panel that you don't have to tinker around. Pre-made ones are good. I'm not saying they're not, but there's a lot of tinkering going around, and more often than not, they have many things, but they lack others. So I've used pre-made admin panels before, but by the time when the project gets too large, it gets too difficult to manage. And I started using Filament again, and I thought, this is absolutely amazing. I mean, the speed that you can create an admin panel is just mind-blowing. So that's what I'm choosing to use Filament for this specific project. But thank you for asking. So Laravel, new pet clinic. By the way, I'm not going to do anything too fancy in this case. I'm just going to use, hey, hello from Venezuela, Jesus Enrique. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a fantastic day. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'm not gonna do anything fancy about databases or anything. I'm just going to use SQLite for the database and PHP Artisan Serve for the dev server. So everything is gonna be pretty simple. Okay, so we have a new project. A couple of things that I like to install on every project. Well, it used to be Laravel Paint, but that is already installed with every new Laravel installation. Comes pre-packed, so that's awesome. But oh, and to use it, you just do vendor bin paint, I think. Yep. Oh, you have to get into the project folder. My bad. See the pet clinic vendor bin paint. And right off the bat, there is no changes made, but and this is because Laravel Paint by default comes with the Laravel preset. So, and that's fine. But in my opinion, in my personal preference, is to use PSR2. So what I like to do is, let's actually start code. Let's open this in Visual Studio Code. Bring it over here. So what I like to do is create a new preset and use the PSR2 preset. So you just need to create a new file. Whoa. I don't have space. If I make it a little bit less, okay, yeah, that's better. New file, paint.json. I hope the size is good enough. If it's too small, let me know in the chat and I can make it a little bit bigger. And here we create a new preset. And that's for PSR 12 or 1, 2. PSR 1, PSR 2. Save that, go back to the terminal, run paint again, and now you see that there are some changes being made, and that's how I like it. So we're going to do that. And the other thing that I always like to install is PHPStan, so that I make sure that if I'm ready to push this to production, or if I want to make sure that there are no bugs, I just run PHPStan and I can catch bugs before they make it too far. So let's do that. Composer require, I think it's Nuno Maduro Duro Latastan version 2. This is a development requirement. And then the next step is to create a configuration file for a PHPStan. And what I like to do is, you need to create a new file called phpstan.neon. And for the contents of this file, I have a gist, always handy. The link to this gist is in the description of this video if you want to grab it. So I just copy that and paste it here. Go back to the terminal and then do vendor bin phpstan analyze, and we give it a memory limit of 2 gigabytes. And at this point, there shouldn't be any errors. I'd be surprised if they are. So yeah, we have a new project with the things that I'd like to have. And at this point, what I'd like to do is start with the models. That's the first thing I do in every project, the models. And for that, let me show you what we are going to create. I have the database diagram here. And it's a very simple project with 3 tables. The owners table, which is name, phone, and email, 3 string columns. And then we have the pets table with name, date of birth, the type of pet that we are creating, and we are also going to create avatars for our pets. And then we have appointments with a date, a start time, end time, and description. Very simple, 3 tables, nothing fancy. So let's start with owners. Let's clear out the screen and then PHP artisan make model owner. And if you do -m, that will create the migration file as well. Now let's do the same for the other 2, pet and appointments. There you go. Now let's work on those migration files. Starting with owner. We need a string column here. This will be for the name. Let's create 2 more for email and phone. That's all for the owners. Then for the pets, as I said, 1 name column for, sorry, 1 string column for name. So close this one and open create pets table. Then we need a date of birth. That'll be a date column. And 2 more string columns for the type and avatar. So, table string for type and avatar. I'm making the type. I know that we could use an enum column for the avatar, but later in the project I want to use enums to define a predefined set of options for what kind of pets we have. And the nice thing about it is that starting with version 3, Filament starting embracing more enums and created a few integrations or a few helpers that make working with enums within Filament just a breeze. So that's why I'm going to use string columns instead of an enum column in the database. So what else? Of course, we need the owner ID or the foreign key for the owner. So table foreign ID, column name is owner ID, this is going to be constrained to the owners table. And let's do cascade on delete. So that if an owner is deleted, also the pet for that owner will be deleted. Well, actually, we could have pets and not have owners. So I don't think we need cascade on delete. What we could do instead is just make this owners column nullable. Because yeah, we could have cases where we have a pet, maybe a stray pet that doesn't have an owner. So this will make it so. This will make it possible. Okay, let's see. Name, date of birth, type, avatar, owner ID, nullable, constrained, and no cascading. That should be all. And then let's move to the appointments. Oh, now that I mention it, we should also make the avatar nullable, because maybe we don't have a picture for the pet. So let's make this nullable as well. Back to the diagram. For appointments, we need date, start, and end, and also a description to describe what the appointment is for. So table, date, table, time, start, and end. Oops, sorry. And finally a string column for the description. Will the live, Saba, how you doing, by the way? Will the live stream stay on the channel? Of course, I'm going to keep this live stream on the channel. So if you don't have time to watch it all right now, you can come back tomorrow or any other day and finish watching it. So it's gonna stay live on my channel. Let's see. That's all we need, right? Oh, of course we need a pet ID for the pet this appointment belongs to. So table, no problem, you're welcome. Foreign ID, column name is pet ID, constrained to the pets table, and this one I do want to have cascade on delete, because it makes sense. If we for some reason need to delete the pet from the system, then we should also get rid of all the appointments for that pet. Okay, so I think we are done with the migrations. So at this point we could go back to the terminal and then do PHPArtisan migrate. No, wait, we need the database. We haven't done the database yet. So like I mentioned before, I want to use something simple. So let's use just as an SQLite database. Hold on. Not really used to talk for extended periods of time, so if my throat gets a little scratchy, I apologize in advance. So for the database, all we need to do is do touch database database.sqlite, and this just creates an SQLite database file in the database folder, and that's the default place where Laravel looks for that file. So let's do that. Claudio Pereira, hello from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Thank you, welcome. Welcome to the stream. So once we have the database file, all we need to do is go back to the editor and open the .env file, change the DB connection to SQLite, and then remove all of the other database configuration options. Save that. And now we can do PHP artisan migrate. Perfect. Okay, so we have a new project. We have a new database, and we have the tables for our project. Sava, where are you from? I am from Costa Rica, my friend. As you may notice from my accent, I hope it's not too thick, but English is not my primary language. So if I fumble with it, I apologize in advance. But yeah, I am from Costa Rica. At this point, well, we have the models, we have okay, so we have the models, we have the tables, we have not only the project tables, but we also have authentication. So before we move on with Filament, I would like to set up the relationships between the models. So let's go back to the editor, and let's open the pet model first. So here a pet belongs to an owner, and in a moment we are going to do the inverse relationship between owner and pet. So let's say public function owner. This is going to be a belongs to relation, and then here we return, not retry, return this belongs to owner class, and that's it. Oh, sorry, I switched I apologize. I switched to the screen and I never switched back. I have to pay attention to that. My bad. You named the appointment model appointments. Did I? Oh my god. Thank you. Nice catch. What's this? Willie. Thank you for that. Oh my god. And I'm always picky about these naming conventions. I'm always telling people you have to name your models singular. And then I come into a stream and I do it live and I make the mistake. Thank you for pointing that out. Thankfully, it's an easy fix. Appointment, owner, pet. Perfect. Yeah, I apologize for not sharing the screen for a while. As you can probably see, this is my first live stream, so I'm trying to do my best to keep up with the chat, keep up with OBS, and not only that, creating the project as well. So I'm sorry for all the mistakes. I hope the screen is now visible, and let me just make sure that it is. Yeah, it is. Okay. I'm not gonna switch to myself to just camera anymore because it's so easy to forget. And Sava, I work in WordPress sites and I started to learn PHP and Laravel. Well, congratulations. I haven't worked in WordPress myself, and but I hear it's a very popular framework. I I've never worked on it, so I don't know how good it is, but I do know that Laravel is just an amazing framework, and I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it. Now, file Claudio, thank you for confirming. And okay, so if I'm not mistaken, the only thing that I did while not sharing my screen was to define, I opened the pet model and defined a belongs to relationship between the pet model and the owner model, like this. Just a public function that returns a belongs to relationship, and then here I return this belongs to owner class. That's it. Now we can define the inverse relationship between owner and pet. So let's open owner. And let's create a public function pets. And this is going to be a has many pets, has many relationship. Here we return, this has many. Oof, boy, have I lost. It has many. Interesting. Okay, this has many pets, like this. Okay, so we have the relationship between owner and pet. A pet belongs to an owner, and an owner can have one or more pets. And also, if you remember, a pet can belong to an owner or not belong to an owner, because we made the foreign key nullable. So we could have pets without owners. We could have a pet without an owner. Now we need to define the relationship between pet and appointment. So let's do, again, public function pet. This is a belongs to again. So every appointment belongs to a pet. And the inverse of that will be in pet, where a pet can have many appointments. So return this has many appointment class. Okay, so I think that covers all the relationships. We have a relationship between pet and owner, a relationship between pet and appointment, and the inverse relationship in all of those. Shauk, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I apologize, but hi, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So now that we have relationships, we have models, we have tables, we have pretty much everything we need, we can finally install Filament. So let's go back to the terminal and let's do that. So Composer, and just so that I don't miss a step, let's go to the documentation. First step is to set the minimum stability on phone. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. So set the minimum stability in composer.json to dev. That's the first step that we need to follow. So let's go to composer.json. All the way to the bottom and set these to dev. And then we can just do composer require and install Filament version 3. Now from version 2 to version 3, there is an because in version 2 what you will generally do is install Filament, and then you create a Filament user, and you can use that user to access the admin panel. But in version 3, because now you can have multiple admin panels in one project, there is one extra step. Great job done, thank you very much. Please, I am trying to use Filament version 3, but I got an error. The composer logged to its original state. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I had something similar, and that's why they updated the documentation steps. First of all, the minimum stability that they talk about here, because it recently Filament version 3 came out of beta very recently. So this will ensure that you don't have any errors first. And second, if you are still having errors with the composer locking to its original state or something like that, what I would do is I would delete the composer.log file, delete the vendor file, the vendor folder, and then just do a composer install, and that will install all of your packages again. If you haven't installed Filament yet, then you do a composer require, this command right here, composer require Filament version 3-stable-w. I hope that helps. And I was saying that with version 2, you would just install Filament and then create a Filament user, but in version 3, you have multiple panels in one project, so you need an extra step to configure the panels functionality. So we do this. It depends on Livewire 3, which is still in beta. Yeah, you're right. Well, version 3 is not, it's supposed to be stable now. Should have come out of beta like last week, maybe? I don't remember, but it should be stable now. It shouldn't be in beta anymore. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. So let's run this command to get the panels ready. I already started the repo, so no. And now we can create an admin, a Filament user with PHPArtisan make Filament, PHPArtisan make Filament user. It has 50 plus open issues. This is far from being stable. Yeah, you're right. It's gonna be like that for a while, I guess, while all the bug fixes get patched and everything. It's a new version and it's packed with a lot of features, so it's not surprising that it has some outstanding open issues. But yeah, you're right. Okay, let's call this user admin. Give it an email of admin@email.com. Password will be password. There you go. Filament version 3 is stable. Livewire remains in beta. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for the clarification. Should come out of beta really soon, to be honest. But yeah, Livewire 3 is still in beta, and Filament version 3, although the Filament project is stable, it depends on Livewire 3 and it's built on top of it, and that one's still on beta. So you might want to hold off on using this for production purposes so far, but yeah. So we have a Filament user, and at this point we could just do PHPArtisan serve, and we can try out our new panel. So let's navigate to localhost 8000 admin. Log in with our new user. And this is the starting dashboard that we have. Okay, perfect. Nothing new in the chat. All right. So we have a project, we have a dashboard ready to go, and this is what I love about Filament, is that you don't have to worry about anything else. This is just ready to start adding features to it. You don't have to think about responsiveness. You don't have to think about the design or anything else. You just start adding features to it, and that's awesome. So let's start with owners. Let's add the ability to create and edit owners. For that, let's go back to the terminal. I'm going to open a new tab. And to create a new resource, all you have to do is PHPArtisan make filament resource and give it the name of the model this resource belongs to. In this case, owner. And if we go back to the admin panel and refresh, you can see that we now have a new link to the owner's resource. And we don't have any resource yet, but that said, we have the ability to now create, edit, and list all of the owners. All we need to do is set up what are the schemas for both the tables and the forms that we are going to use. For example, if we click on new owner, the form is empty right now, but we're going to fix that really quickly. Clear out some tabs here, and let's open this new filament resource. Stanley, hello, how you doing? Hey, please show us how to implement the following. I want to filter records before they are rendered on a table, like users with different to-dos, but they share the same panel but see only their to-dos. Yeah, that's an interesting feature. I don't know if the scope of this project will include something similar, but let's do this. I will keep your question and send me, I think you can send me a DM on Twitter, or send me an email, and I will do a little bit of a bit more research on how to accomplish what you need to do, and send you some instructions. I don't know if I could cover it here, because that will take me down another path, and I wanted to focus on just this project, but I do want to help. So if you want to send me an email or a message on Twitter, I will take your question and do my best to help you accomplish what you want. That cool? Awesome. Welcome to the stream, by the way. So we are going to open the owner resource. And in the owner resource, we have the form method. And this is where we define the look and feel of our form. Basically, we just need to define the schema. And a schema is just a collection of inputs, the inputs that we need to edit and create owners. And we can start with the owner name. So we do forms. And my IntelliFence is not picking up the classes. Thank you, Stanley. So this is a bit of an annoying thing. Whenever you, and I don't know if it's just me or this is an IntelliSense thing, but every time you install, or if you have VS Code open and you install a new package, in this case it was Filament, it doesn't pick up the classes and it doesn't give you autocomplete or suggestions. So what I do in this case is I have to close VS Code and open it again. If there is any other solutions for this issue where IntelliFence doesn't pick up the new installed schema, let me know in the comments, share it on the chat, but that's basically what I know it works. So if I now come here and do forms, is it forms or form? I think it's forms. Components. There you go. Forms, components, and we need a text input. We call the make method, and to the make method, we just pass the name of the column text input. Thank you, Sean. Phone, is it? I'm sorry, I apologize. Phone, I think. So to the text input make method, we pass the name of the column that we need the text input for. In this case, name. And with just that, if we go back to the form and refresh, now we have a text input. It's just that easy. And if we create another one, let's create one more. Let's actually create two more. One for the email and one for the phone. And that's it. We have a functional form to create owners. It has Filament extension for VS Code. Is there a Filament extension for VS Code? I haven't heard of it. I'm gonna look for it, but if there is, I haven't seen it. Now, what I like personally is I don't like my form inputs to be next to each other. I usually want them on one column. So to accomplish this, in version 2, actually, what I used to use was forms, components, Jesus, if I can write. I used to use a component called card, but it was deprecated, and it's suggesting me that instead we use a section with an empty heading. So let's do that. Section, and to these we call make and pass an array. And this array is basically just another schema. In the command palette, you can run the command. Interesting. Is that for the IntelliSense issue? Does Filament give the flexibility to add external UI components like Taikit? Yes, it does. In fact, I toyed around with components from Wire UI in my last video if you want to give that a look. Basically, and I'm probably going to do the same here, where for the date picker, for the time picker inputs, you can only select time in a 24-hour format, and I don't really like that. So I went and brought in a date picker input from Wire UI, which is basically just live wire components, and brought that into Filament. So yeah, you have the ability to use external UI components. If you just import the namespace from components, you don't have to type form components. Yeah, I used to do that, but I don't know why. I find this to be more descriptive. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, sometimes you see the section class and you don't know where does it come from. And this is what the makers of Filament suggest doing. And I didn't like it at first. I do like to import the entire namespace and just use the class. But I don't know, after a while doing it like this, I kind of got used to it and start growing on me. So I just stuck with it. But you could just totally import the entire namespace. The thing is, then the namespace, the use statements can get a little bit bloated. So I think that's the reason why they don't do it like that. They just import the forms namespace, and then you use everything within that namespace. You just do it like this. But it's a totally valid point. In the command palette, you can run command IntelliFence index workspace to make VS Code IntelliFence update the classes when you load a new package. Awesome. Thank you so much. I didn't know that. Thank you, Stanley. I'm going to do that from now on. Actually, I'm going to make a note of that. Hold on. Well, I'll make a note later. But thank you very much for the tip. So we were, like I was saying, what I like is to have my form components in one single row. To do that, I used to use a card component, but now they recommend using a section component without a header. And this array is just another schema that you can put all of your inputs into. And if you save and go back to this and then refresh, there you go. That's the way I like to see my forms, just within a container. I'm guessing the section component has more features to it, like adding, I think you can add a header to it and a footer, and have the header to have a title and have components in the footer. But for me, this works. Now let's work a bit more on these inputs, because we want validation on those inputs. And to accomplish that, all you have to do is say that all of these are required. So let's make all of these inputs required. And when you do that, you get this little mark in the label noting that the input is required. But we can also make sure that the user has the correct phone or the correct phone format in the inputs, and also validate that users only put in valid emails. To do that, we go to the email, for example, and we can tell that this is an email input field. Simple as that. And for the phone, something similar, we can just use tell. And that will ensure that when we submit the form, Filament is going to make sure that those two fields have the correct format for email and phone. Okay, one more thing that I want to customize here, and that is that, for example, if you create a new owner with an email and a phone, the default behavior in this case would be that you hit create, and it's not going to follow the standard behavior where you create a new record and goes back to the list of the records. The default behavior here is that when you click create, first of all, we have an interesting issue here. Oh, okay, awesome. This is something that I also wanted to explain. So let's shelve the previous explanation and let's talk about this mass assignment. And let's get closer. So by default, Laravel guards all of your models. All of your models are guarded, and you have three options. One, you specifically define which fields you want to make available for mass assignment on each model. Two, you on-guard each model individually and basically just allowing any data for mass assignment, or you basically on-guard all of your models. So those are the three options. I used to do the first one, going into each model and saying, okay, these are the columns that I want for mass assignment. But for big projects, it could be a little bit cumbersome. Especially with Filament, they say that Filament itself has checks in place for mass assignment. So they do recommend that for simplicity, you just on-guard your models. And for a small project like this one, I think that'll be the best choice. So, but let me show you the first two options, and then we go to the third one. So, go back to the text editor. Let's work on the owner model, for example. So, first option, you define a public fillable array, and here you specifically tell that you want the name, phone, and email to be mass assignable. But you have to do that on every single model. So if you are okay with that and you like that granularity and that level of control, this is how you do it. Second option, you on-guard your model. And you do that by defining or by extending the, I think is protected static unguarded. And you set that by default this is false, and if you set that to true, then your model is unguarded and it has no restrictions for mass assignment. So that's option number 2. You would have to do this on each individual model. Or the third option is that you go to your app service provider, which is in app providers, app service provider, and in the boot method you do model, you import Illuminate Database Eloquent Model, and on that you do, didn't show option 2. Option 2 is this, is unguarding your model completely one by one. Did I not do it? I think I did it. So this, when you do this, protected static unguarded, and set that to true, that means that your model is completely open. So that's option 2. Option 1, define the fillable array. Option 2, unguard your model individually. And option 3 is to on-guard all of your models. So in App Service Provider, you do model on-guarded, or sorry, model on-guard, and set that to, and you pass true to that. So if you do that in your App Service Provider, all of your models will be on-guarded and have no restrictions for mass assignment. I don't think on-guarded is a static property though. Well, what I do is, if you go to model, and then I think it has guards, attributes, concern, or trait, and if you go into that, the unguarded property is marked as static and protected. So if you, I think if you don't do it like this, then it doesn't guard it, or it doesn't actually work. I might be wrong, but this is how I've been doing it for a while. You showed protected, static, unguarded equals instead of protected, unguarded. Again, I think it should be protected static, just because that's what the guards attribute, that's how it's defined in the guards attribute trait. And I've been doing it like that for a while, and it works. Oh, my bad. I was thinking of guarded. Makes sense. Yeah. So this is how I do it. I just define these as true in my model. And yeah, I think it has to be static and protected, because that's just the way that is defined in the trait. I haven't seen the guarded one yet, but yeah. Oh, guarded is an array as well, isn't it? Guarded, the protected, guarded property. So that one is just the inverse of fillable. So you define which columns in your model are supposedly guarded, and all of the others are fillable. I think that's how it works. But for this case, we are going to go the nuclear route and just on-guard all of our models in our application, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay. Let's go back to this. We have to refresh. Let's create one owner. Now, what I was mentioning before is that you would expect that when you click create, it takes you out of here and into the list of resources. But the default behavior in Filament is that when you click create, it takes you to the edit page, and you can edit the same resource that you just created. And that's fine, but I usually expect when I click the create button to take me out and into the list. So to achieve that, we can go into the editor again. And we need to open the create and edit pages for the resource. So we have a resource class, but that resource class also has 3 pages: list, edit, and create. So if we go into the edit one, for example, we can create a new protected function called get redirect URL, and here we return a string that is the route that we should be redirected to once we complete the action, whether it's create or edit. So let's return this get resource, And when we call get resource, we get the instance of the resource this page belongs to. And on that resource, there is a static method called get URL. And we want the index URL. So this is in the edit. We are going to copy this function and put it in the create as well. Just like that. Oh. Am I missing something here? Why is it giving me a squiggly line here? Is not compatible with get redirect URL. That's weird. Why not? Protected. Function get redirect URL. Why are you being weird? That's so strange. So return, let's copy this. Just like that. Okay. That was interesting. So now when I go back to the edit page and let's say I modify the phone and then save changes, this will take me out to the list of resources. Same thing with creating a new owner. It will create the owner, takes you back to the list page. And now we can work on our table because we can see that we have a table here and it's a fully functional, sortable, paginated table, but we don't have columns. So we need to define the schema for our table as well. Remove string to string. You had string, but it cannot be null, I guess. No, it can. Look. Oh, you're right. Create owner, edit owner. So in the edit owner, it can be null, but in the create one, it can't. Good point. Let's see. Yep, you're right. So in the create page, you have to be redirected. In the edit, you could not be. All right, didn't know that. Thank you very much. Thank you for pointing that out. You guys are amazing at pointing things out. And I'm obviously very nervous and making a lot of mistakes. What was I saying? All right, the table. Let me clear out some tabs, and now we can work on the table schema. And just like forms, all we need to do is define what columns define our table. And Stanley says in Livewire version 3 there is a property called wire navigate that makes the page only to load the dynamic data instead of loading the HTMLs and CSS and JS files. Since Filament is Livewire, how do I add? I'm not sure, to be honest. I would have thought that that was already in there, but I haven't looked too deep into that. But I'll take your question and I'll do my research and come back with an answer, if that's okay. Are you going to add pest tests? Not today, because I thought that will take the session way too longer and way longer than I would have wanted to. But I do think I do have a video in my list. I'm going to make a video about testing with pest in Filament version 3. And I have that on queue, and I'll try to create that video in the following weeks. But yeah. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel to not miss that video. And now that I mentioned it, if you're here and if you're liking the content, don't forget to click that little thumbs up. It really helps. So yeah, we need columns. So for owners, we only need 3 columns. So let's do tables actually, columns, text column, and we call make, and this is for the name. Let's make 2 more, one for the phone, email, sorry, and one for phone. If we just do this and go back to the panel and refresh, now we have columns. Perfect. But it gets better, because we can also say that we can sort by the name using the sortable method, and we can search by this column as well by making this column searchable. Let's do the same for the other 2. Email, and phone. And let's not make the phone column sortable. Wouldn't make sense. Let's just make it searchable. Save that. And there you go. Now we have a quick search to search by name, email, and phone. And we can also sort by name and email. And if we had more records, if we had more than 10 records, pagination works out of the box. You can choose how many records to see at all times, and it just works. Okay, I think we don't need to do anything else for the owners page, and we can probably move on to the pets, which is a lot more fun. So let's go back to the terminal and create a new resource for pets. All right. And here is the same thing. We just have to start working with the table schema and the form schema. Let's start with the form. Close this out and open the pet resource. And if I remember correctly, let me go back to the diagram real quick. So we need name, date of birth, type, and avatar. So let's start with these 2. We need a text input for the name. This should be required. You can use the generate flag. Yeah, you're totally right. You can actually, I'll do that with the appointments one. But yeah, if you don't want to go in and generate the fields one by one, you can use the generate flag. Thank you, Fawn, again for the tip. If you do this and then do generate, it will create all of the form inputs and table columns based on your database columns, and that's very handy. I haven't done it myself. I usually like the feeling of going in and adding my inputs one by one, But if you're pressed for time, that is totally a valid method to use. So name required. Now we're going to use a date picker for the date of birth. As simple as doing forms, components, date picker. Sorry. Little water, stay hydrated. So if we just use the date picker like this and go back to the browser. Oh, I forgot to use a section. Give me a second. Ooh, what was that? Much better. Okay, so if you use the date picker just like that with no options, first of all, it's going to use the native HTML date picker, which looks like this, right? Totally valid, totally functional. If you want to use that and not have any JavaScript version of it, that's fine. But if instead you're like me and like to have the JavaScript more configurable version of the date picker, all you have to do is say native false. So the native one looks like this, and the non-native one looks like this. In my opinion, I like this one better. What's the name of my database flow diagram? I am using Whimsical from whimsical.com. They have a free tier, and for simple stuff like that, I find it to be very user-friendly. So yeah, whimsical.com. I got lost, sorry. Okay, so we were talking about date picker. So yeah, in my opinion, in my personal preference, is to use the non-native date picker. And what else? There was one other option that oh yeah, when you select a date, oh, it's already formatted. Nice. If you use the native one, you also have to format the date because it is not formatted. Let's actually show you how it looks. Save that, go back to the native one. See how the date is formatted like this, and if you select one, it's formatted with month, day, and year. To change that, and if you choose to use the native one, you can do display format, if I'm not mistaken, and then define the format of your date, and it accepts any of the valid PHP date formats. For example, maybe a 3-letter month, 2-digit day, sorry, the date, and 4-digit year. Well, see, that's why I like to use the non-native, because apparently display format doesn't work with native inputs. So let's go back to native instead. Yeah, I like this one better. So that's name and date of birth, and this one is required as well. Now we need, let me go back to the diagram real quick. We need type, and for type we're going to use enums, because yeah, technically if you didn't want to use enums, all you would do is use a forms components select and on the select you just have to define the options for this select, and you can pass an array of options with keys like dog, and the label for the option will be dog, and maybe cat, or maybe some people like lizards. Something like that, right? So technically that's totally valid if you want to do it like that. And go back to the browser and refresh. Now you have a type selection with the options that we just defined. Also, this is a native select, native HTML select. If you would like to use a non-native select option, select input, you again do native false. And the reason I like this one better, first of all, better design. Second, it's way more customizable, and you'll see why in just a second. Well, not just a second. When we get to the appointments, you'll see why. Sorry. Actually, no, we are going to use another drop down here because we should be able to select the owner of a pet, and you'll see why the customization of the non-native select input is important. But we could use just an array like this, but there is a better way. Because what if you need to use the predefined set of pet types somewhere else in your application? Then you'll have arrays everywhere, and if there is a new type of pet, you would have to go into each individual place where you define that array of pets and change that in every single place. And that's why I prefer, when it comes to predefined sets, I like to use enums instead. So let's do that. Let's create a new folder in app. Let's call that enums. And in here we're going to create a new file called pet types, pettype.php. And here we are going to define an enum pet type, and this pet type is of type string. And let's define, let's say, dog. cat maybe what, rat. Some people have rat pets, pet rats. Dog, cat, rat, maybe lizard. Maybe a pet fish. Yeah, we can work with this. Now, an enum on itself is not really useful because we just can't use it as it is to show this enum as a list of options in the select. And that was the case for Filament version 2, where you would have to create yourself some sort of helper that will transform this into a list of key value pairs that is valid or useful in select options. But in version 3, Filament adopted the use of enums and instead created a great helper class called, let me see if I can remember, has labels. Has label. Willie, should the pet type not better be a model instead? Pet type. What if I bring a pet that is of type dolphin? You don't have that in the enum, and if the pet type is required, etc. Just a thought. Yeah, that's totally valid. Yeah, we could have the pet type to be extracted into its own table. That's usually for big projects and stuff like that. That would be required because what if option changes? But that is that's one thing. That is one good thing about enums, because if the predefined set doesn't really warrants a new table, if you're going to have a very small set of options, then if you have a new type and you use that enum in every place that you can use it for dropdowns, the only place that you have to modify and add a new pet type would be the enum itself, and that'll be like adding a new record to a table. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, you could have the pet type in its own table, totally valid. I did wanted to use an enum because the list is not that big, and it's simpler to manage it with an enum in this case. But yeah, that's totally valid thought. Thank you, Willie. As I was saying, Filament implemented a class, a helper class called hasLabel, specifically to create or to allow enums to be used in select dropdowns. And for this, you have to implement a method called getLabel. Is it a public? Yeah, I think it's a public getLabel. Is it public or static? Can't remember. Hold on. Let's consult the documentation real quick. Public function getLabel. Yeah. There you go. Now, in what you return in this case, well, the documentation gives you two options. You can either return the name, or what I like better is to return a match for each of the options in the enum. So if we return, let's actually use this. Copy this, paste it here, And in our case, we're going to use dog, cat, rat, and lizard, and one more for fish. And why not also add the dolphin, since Willie has a pet dolphin, so let's add that as well. Well, a dolphin is technically a fish, but it's a mammal. Let's call it a fish. So yeah, we're still good. We are good with the options. So this getLabel function allows us to simply go back to the pet resource, and instead of passing an array of options like this, we can just simply say pet type class. Sorry. Yeah, like that. Don't forget to import that class up here. Where is it? Enums. Did I not use? Oh, like that. Oh yeah, very important. Made a mistake of not adding a namespace to this class. All right, now we can import that. And that should work, hopefully. Let's see. Go back to the browser, refresh. And now we have a list of pet options or pet types coming directly from the enum. And the labels are the ones that we return in the getLabel method. Perfect. All right. So that's pet type using enums. We also need, go back to the diagram. So we have name, date of birth, type, and now we move into avatar. And for the avatar, we're going to use an image or a file input. Let's put it first. So forms, components, is it, yeah, file upload, there you go. With just that, if we go back and check the form now, you get this input type where you can drag and drop files into this section or click browse, which just like that is, I mean, just having that out of the box, it's great. But you can not only do that, but you can also say that this is an image input. And one cool thing that they include is that you can also allow users to crop their images before uploading them, like this. check this out. If we refresh, I think I have a couple of images already prepared in my desktop. Let's see, let's bring Lola. You get a nice preview of your image, and you not only that, you can also go in and crop your image if you need to, like this. Perfect. Now that on its own would have been a completely new project, to be honest, but it just comes included with Filament. I believe, and actually let's try it, because I believe we do have to, we have a couple of steps, extra steps in order to store the files in the server, but let's find out. Move this over here. No, let's just take it down. Let's create a new pet, shall we? So her name is Lola, who's a good girl. Date of birth, let's say she is 2 years old. And a dog. Oh, the owner, right. We still need to have an owner. We don't need to, but we should have the option to. So let's go back and add an owner dropdown. Now, typically what you would have to do in a regular Laravel project is, in order to have a dropdown with all of the owners so that you can select one, you would have to grab all of the owners and then pass down to the view and fill up the options of the dropdown. Make sure that if we are editing, you have to pre-select the current owner of the pet, etc. With Filament, all you have to say is that this select should be filled with the owner relationship, with the relationship method, and all you have to pass in here is the name of the relationship. In this case is owner, and what is going to be the column on the owners table that is going to be used as a label for the dropdown. In this case, name. And just like that, we have an owner dropdown, and in here we have all of the owners currently in our database. Simple as that. We do want to make this non-native, so native false. And another nice trick is that when we are using a non-native select, we can make that select searchable, so that we can have the option to type in the name, and the options in the select will get reduced based on our input. Not only that, we can tell Laravel or Filament to preload the options on this dropdown, because otherwise, when you click the dropdown, when you click on the dropdown, all you are going to see, and actually let me show you how it looks. If you just do it like this, searchable, when you click in here, you need to start typing in order to get options. And it's going to do a fetch to the server and show you the options that matches the closest to your input. But if you want to have options available so that you can maybe select one right away instead of just typing, you make it so that it preload the options with preload. So now when you click on the drop down, you already have a few options to select from. I don't think it shows all of them, but it shows like the first, I think might be 10, 15 options. And then you can start typing and reduce those options to your input. One other thing, we said that owners are optional. So this is not fillable, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I want to do is, what if I am creating a pet, but the owner doesn't exist? I shouldn't have to go back to the owner's resource, create a new owner, and then come back here and assign that owner to the pet. Thankfully, Filament gives us a very cool option to create an owner on the fly, like this. Create option form. What does it take? A schema. So all we need to do is go back to the owner resource. Let's copy the form schema without the section, just the inputs, and paste them in here. So we are basically defining another schema to create owners directly from the pets resource. How does that look? Omar, hi, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Do you work for new project depend on request? Not really. I mean, I'm open to suggestions always, but usually when I create new projects, first of all, I think about, is this a valuable, teachable project, something that I can use to teach something new? And also, if it is not going to be too big, in order to not create too big of a series. But no, it usually is just my own ideas. But if you guys have suggestions or requests about new projects that I can create and show on either on stream or in short tutorials, let me know, and I'll obviously take them into consideration. And yeah, I'm always open to suggestions. Usually is my own ideas, but yeah. So now that we have the option to create owners, we have this little button here, this little plus button, and I think my head is on the way. So we have this little plus button here, and if we click it, we can create a new owner. Let's say test. No, let's not call it test. His name is John. Five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hit create, and the owner gets created. We created a new owner, and the owner is automatically assigned to the pet. And if we were to go back to the owners, we have the owner here as well. So isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Okay, I think we are ready to create a new pet. Let's see if it works. I'm expecting to have to do something else with files, but let's find out. Oh, one thing I forgot, and I'll add it after I click create, but remember the redirect thing? Yeah. It didn't take me to the list of pets, it takes me to the edit pet. And everything seems to be fine here, except for the file. Yeah. let's work on the redirects first and then find out where that file ended up. We can go back to the owner resource, create, take this, copy that, and let's put it in the pet resource, create. And let's copy the one from, no, not copy, just put it in the edit as well, and the string can be no. I think it was like that. Now, where did that file ended up? If I'm not mistaken, it should be in storage, app, Omar, thanks for the reply. I would like to make suggestion for future project, subscription manager management for SaaS without the application only CMS. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. I will take note and start doing my research. Hopefully it will be a good project to create in Filament. Does it matter if it's in, I think Filament version 3 will be a good candidate for that project. But yeah, thank you so much. So the file should have ended up in storage app public. Yeah, there it is. We need to follow one more step, because if we want to access this image that got created in our project, we need to be able to publicly access that image from our web server. But that's not the case right away. That's why if we go back, if we go to, why did I lose my, I lost my bar. What happened? Maximize the window somehow. Okay, so I was saying, if we go back to, if we go into the Laravel documentation, for example, and let me make this a little bit bigger. Let's search for files, file storage, file uploads. See if I can find it. One moment. Oh, here it is. So in order for you to access files in the server, you need to run this artisan command, which will create a link or a soft link in your file system from the public folder to the storage folder. So let's do that. Copy. Let's run that. And just to show you what gets created, if you go back to, if we go to the public folder, we have CSS and JS, right? And if we run this command, now we have a storage folder. And this folder is just a shortcut to the storage, to the storage app public folder. And you can see that we have the same content in there, and there is the image. So now we can publicly access that image that we uploaded in our web page. I think if we go back to the server now, sorry, the page, the panel, and we refresh, this should work. Maybe. Maybe not. That's interesting. Willie, funny to see the Laravel Nova ad on Laravel pages when... Oh, right. Yeah, it's are they like competing projects? I don't know. It is interesting. Why is this not working? Should work. Maybe I have to restart my web server. Is that the right file name? JF17. Yeah, it is the file name. Interesting that it's not being able to access the file in the edit form. I'll have to look into that. For now, let's move on to the list of pets, because I do want to access that image using an image column in the table. Hopefully that'll work too. So pet resource, and let's work in the table. Let's try adding an image column. And let's make this column rounded as well. Used to be rounded, that is deprecated. Now we have to use circular. Circular it is. See, that's interesting. It's not letting me access that still. Why? Localhost storage in the file name. Yeah. Public storage file name. Is it a... That's strange. Is it a permission thing? Maybe? The app URL probably doesn't have a port in it. Good point. Let me check. So .env, it doesn't. Good point. Let's see if that works. So I probably have to restart the server, right? Just to make sure, or just to be safe, let's do that. Go back to the table. You're a genius. Thank you. You know, when I was toying around with this project, or practicing this for the stream, I was using Laravel Sail and I wasn't having any problems. And you're right, because the URL doesn't have a port when you're using Sail. But when you're using PHPArtisan, you need a port 8000, and the app URL has to have that in order for the images to be accessed. So if I click edit, that's going to work, right? Golf clap. You're awesome. Thank you very much. All right, so we have the avatar column, let's go for the rest. See, close this. Yeah, thank you VS Code, I know. Bed resource. Now let's create a column for the name. Columns, sorry. Text column, make name. What else? Type. Yeah. But can we use the enum as well? That's a good question. Said to myself. So tables, columns, text column, make type. Let's see how that looks. I would like to use the get labels. Is there an option to do that? Let me check. Always going back to the documentation. Table builder, text column, displaying a badge, description, limiting text, word count, listing multiple values. What if I just use pet type Can I use get label? I don't think so. What if I use the class only? Would that work? Drum roll, please. It won't. All right. Maybe I can go back to the pet type class. Can I make this static? I don't think I can. No. I would like to use the pet type in the table as well, but I don't know how yet. I'm not about to hold you guys hostage while I figure it out, so just the value of the column should do for now. What else? Date of birth. Text column, make date of birth. This is going to be a date column formatted in this way: month, day, year. And we should probably show the owner as well, right? So let's do another table, another text column. Asri, please, are you asking the question? Is the question, is it hard to deploy a Laravel Filament app in another PC locally? It shouldn't be that hard, I imagine. Do you mean like using GitHub and just try and deploy that same Filament app on another PC? I actually haven't tried that because I usually work. I haven't deployed much Filament projects to production, not, but I don't think it should be that hard. If I were to take this project, for example, put it on GitHub, and then using another PC, try to deploy that locally. It depends on your system, first of all. If you're a Mac user, I would recommend having, now that we have Herd, for example, that you can just have PHP running out of the bat, but you would probably need to have a local development first of all, with the correct PHP version, and then it's just a matter of cloning the repo from GitHub or copying the files from one PC to the other and then running compose and install. That's the first thing I would do, because you need all the requirements, and then PHP artisan serve just to see if it works. But yeah, that would be my process. And I'm keep looking at myself. Look at the camera. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at this. But thank you for the question, Asri. If you're trying to do something like that and you need help, as always, I'm always available. You can post, you can contact me on Twitter. You can send me an email. You can leave me a comment in one of my videos, and I will always do my best to help you guys with whatever problems you're having. As is for but for production deployment, the only thing I can think of that you have to be careful is when you are deploying a filament project in production. By default, none of your users can access that can log in to the admin panel. You have to follow the documentation. Let me show you where that is. You have to give access to your users in order for them to be able to log in into your admin panel. Panel builder. I think it's on security, publishing, upgrading. Deploying to production. Here it is. So you in your model class or your user model class, you have to create this function, can access panel, and in there you have to make sure that here is just checking for the email domain, but you would have to do your own check. If that's not what you need, you have to check that the user or return, make the checks on your user and make sure that that user can access the admin panel, but because by default it's closed off. Yes, Abu, you're right, totally right. By default, the admin route is, sorry, the route for the admin panel is /admin. If you want that to be the default route of your application when you type in your domain and be redirected right away to your login page, for example, sometimes that's what you need. You don't need an admin route. You can publish your configuration file, and actually let's do that right now. We can do, let me check. That should be in the installation, publishing, configuration. Here it is. So when you publish your configuration file like this, there is a config option. Well, this is, it used to be here. Now I've lost it. I don't deploy to production. Translations, upgrading. There used to be a configuration option where you would specify the route where the Filament admin panel should live, but it's not here anymore. If anyone knows where it is, please let me know. If not, I'll make another note for this question and let you know where you can change the default URL. Yeah, you're right. Admin logging or something like that should be better if you are trying to not be obvious about where your admin panel lives in. Trying to find this option. Configuration, maybe. Creating a panel, changing the path. Here it is. So to change that in a panel configuration file, you can change the path that the app is accessible at using the path method. It's not in config filament anymore. I just did that, and the configuration file now is very lean. Let me show you. This is how the filament configuration file looks like now. It just has a broadcasting option and default file system disk. Apparently, now that you have panels, since you can have multiple panels in one project, you have to define that the path for each panel individually. But where in that file? It says in a panel configuration file. But where is that file located at? Interesting. Well, I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole right now. I don't want to bore you guys. I will do a research on this and how to change it, because it used to be very easy on version 2. Apparently now that you have multiple panels in one project, there is a bit more complicated route to it. So maybe I'll post it in a tweet in the few days. So keep an eye on that. You can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever the name is right now, and I'll post the solution in a tweet soon. But let's go back to the project, shall we? Where were we? We have the date of birth, and we want to know the owner of this pet, right? So tables, columns, text, column, commands? No, columns. Owner name. Yeah, you can access relationship attributes for the model using dot notation when used in table columns like this. There you go. Now let's make all of the sortable things. So image column, that's fine. Name, we want that to be sortable and searchable. Admin panel provider. Oh, hold on. Searchable. So we have an admin panel provider now. Providers. So we would have to create one. Is that it? So we'd have to create a, but see, this is public function panel. Is this something that we have to do in the resource, or I don't know. It feels like the documentation is not being very clear about this. When you run Filament install, a new file is created in app providers Filament. Oh. Got it. Here it is. See, all you have to do is read the documentation. That's all. That's all. Thank you very much. So here is where you define. Oh, I see. This is the path right here. So you can change this to admin login, for example, to make it a little bit less obvious, or if you want to just do it like that, I think in that case your default route will be the login page of your admin panel, if that's what you need. Interesting. Okay. Thank you very much. We are all learning today. That's awesome. Yeah, I should have done. I usually take the hardest route possible to find files in my projects, and this exists. Technology, man. Technology. So yeah, now we are making the name of the pet sortable and searchable. Type should also be sortable and searchable. Date of birth, that should be sortable only. The owner name, sortable and searchable. Yeah, this looks good enough. I still have to research how to use enum labels in a table. I'm not asleep. 4 a.m. Is it 4 a.m. Where you are? Fawn? I hope I'm saying it right. Is it Fawn? Fawn? I'm sorry. But if it is 4 a.m., dude, you should take a nap. It's right now here it's 4 p.m. and I need a coffee. I already need a coffee. I don't know how you're doing it. I just keep doing videos. I really like your style. Thank you so much. So I come back, watch the stream later. Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Take a nap, go to sleep. Appreciate you, and yeah, you can come back and watch it later. I don't think we are going to go for too long. I mean, it's how long have we been? Oh my god, my throat. We've been going for like what, 2 hours now? But it has been amazing, to be honest. Thank you guys. It has been an amazing experience so far for being my first ever live stream. I've learned so much, and thank you guys for being here. So I think we can move on from the pets resource. We have the list, we can create, we can edit, we can create avatars, and we should move on to the appointments. What do you guys say? Format state using record label, something like that. What would that be for the type? I would guess, I would think that there should be an easy option or an easier option. Maybe if I can create, oh, let's try this. What if I go to the pet type? First of all, let's read a bit more about this on the documentation. There should be an easy solution for that. Enum labels. Yeah, get label, but that's not static. There you go, using the enum label with a text column on your table. If you use, hold on, sorry. If you use text column with a table builder and it casts to an enum in your Eloquent model, Filament will automatically use the has label interface to display the enum's label instead of its raw value. Oh, so I have to, oh, okay, makes sense. I have to go back to my model in pet and then cast the, is it public casts? Or is it protected? Let me check. Has attributes. Well, let's not do any guesswork. Just check the documentation for Laravel real quick. Protected? Thank you. I always forget. It's some of them are public, some of them are protected, and I always mix them up. So close this. Pet. So we use protected casts like that, right? And it should be an array. Type, and we just have to use, if I'm not mistaken, just use pet type class, right? That's how it's done. Not crazy, right? So if we go back to the casts, thank you, casts plural. Let's try that. Go back to the pet resource, to the type. So just like that, since it's gonna be cast to an enum, should work right off the bat. Yep, there you go. That's what I wanted to do. Perfect. All right, so I think we are done with pets for now. Let's move on to appointments. My throat, stay hydrated. Let's create a new, let's create a new resource. For appointments. Appointment. Ah, damn. Sorry. Should have been appointment resource. Now I have to delete all of this. So these two folders, this file, this folder. Let's try that again. Appointment. That's better. Okay, we are going to take a tangent here because you'll see in a moment what I mean by time pickers not being great. So let's start with the date of the appointment. We are going to need a section here too. So the date, and that is definitely required. Next, we need the start and end time. So form components, time picker. This should be required as well. And I don't want to show seconds, only minutes and hours. So without, okay, without seconds, it's deprecated now. Instead, use date. What? Oh, use seconds instead. Got it. So seconds, and I'm guessing I have to pass in a false here. Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and display the format as 24 hours. Sorry, 12 hours. So that's HIA. Copy this. Make that for end. Let's see how that looks. All right. Oh, I forgot to make this non-native. And is this the native one? It is. Okay, that does fix the issue though. This is my problem. So in version 2, the default was the non-native time picker. So let me show you how that looks, how that looked for the start, for example. Let's do native false. So when you use a non-native time picker, it looks like this. But this is always in a 24-hour format, and there was no way to change it. Even if you display the format, or if you display the date in a 12-hour format like this, you still have to select it in a 24-hour format. And that's why I thought I was going to have to use an external component like the wire UI I was mentioning. And that's what I used on one of my videos, and explaining how you can bring that into Filament. But if you can use a non-native one, that solves it. So if I wanted to have an appointment at 8, we should change the interval though, because for minutes I would like it to go in like maybe 10-minute intervals. It's not perfect, but it's better than the non-native one. At least you can define it in an AM PM format, which is great. So yeah, let's try and set the minute interval to something bigger. So Let's remove this. We don't need, we want it to be native. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this would be interval. No? Minute step. There you go. And let's make that in steps of 10 minutes each. Well, it doesn't work on native, apparently. So yeah, it's a trade-off. If you want to have AM, PM dates without having to bring in an entire new package into your project, then you have less customization options. But if you do want to, then you trade off the versatility for having an entire new package into your project. And I don't know if I want to do that right now. I mean, if you really want to know how to bring in a wire UI component into your project, my latest video covers that. If you want to go and give that a look. That is made on in version 2, however, so you might want to take that into consideration if you're following along on version 3. There might be some stuff that some things that are deprecated on that, so be careful. But yeah, I think I don't hate it in this case, so let's just use the native one for now. 8 a.m. and then the end date will be 8:30 p.m. And yeah, that's another thing. You don't really need to click on it. You can type and it's going to format the time accordingly. So that's an advantage. The date, I do want the date picker to be non-native in this case. So let's do that. Yeah, I don't hate it. I like it. Let's do it like this. So what else do we need for an appointment? A pet, of course. This is a pet for an appointment, and also the description. So let's go back here and let's add a drop down for pets. It is cool, isn't it? Especially now. I mean, these last couple of months, being not just a PHP developer, but a Laravel developer using a Laravel framework, so many good things have come out. I mean, it is an exciting time to be a PHP developer, and not only that, using the Laravel framework. Laravel Vault, Laravel Folio, Herd, what else? Livewire version 3, Filament version 3 is just a barrage of cool stuff that is coming out. It's just amazing. So many video ideas, by the way. So pet ID, this is from a relationship. Pet, was it pet? Yeah, pet. And sorry, let's use the pet name. Oh yeah, prompts. I am itching to give that a try. I've seen tweets, I've seen videos of it. It seems an amazing thing to use. And in my full-time job, I mainly create scripts for terminal use, tools and things that you use on a daily basis. And having Laravel prompt to just give you this amazing terminal experience, I mean, yeah, that's another definitely, I think, one of the top 3 ideas I have for the next video. I really want to cover that. So pet, this is also required. Oh, searchable, of course. And preload. Yeah. Okay, so let's create one. See if we can create a new appointment for a pet for maybe Monday at 8 a.m. From 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sorry, 8:30 a.m. What would the pet be? The only one that I have right now. Oh, the description, I forgot it. We need a description of the appointment. Okay, let's see. Date, Monday, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Pet will be Lola. And description, let's say grooming. Hit create. We still need to add the redirections to this one, but let's see if it works. There you go. Perfect. Let's add those 2 redirections to the edit and create as well. This is getting bloated. Let me close a few things. There you go. So we take it from pet resource, create, and put it in appointment resource, create, and edit. See, well, just for consistency. It's not asking for an optional string, but just to keep it consistent between the others, because that's how we were doing it in, well, not here. This is the create, edit. How about the other edit? Owner resource, edit, yeah. Pet resource, edit, yeah. So consistency. Why not using rich editor for description? A bit overkill, I would think. I would use the rich editor for example, if I'm editing a blog post or something, where I do need more control over the look of the content, for example. That I would use a rich editor, but for a short description of an appointment, I think a text field should do just fine. A text editor would just be a little bit overkill. But the rich editor, I mean, come on, you have that out of the box, and you don't have to bring in any other packages, and you just add a rich text editor on your application, and it's super functional. I mean, having that at your disposal is amazing. Okay, let's work on, oh, now that I think about it, we should have added something for the status of the appointment. Like when you create a new appointment, should be like default to created, and then when the customer confirms the appointment, move that from created to confirmed. And you should also have the ability to cancel appointments without having to delete them. I didn't thought about that. Maybe we can add that. Well, we've been going for 2 hours and 30 minutes. If you guys are okay with going for another hour or so, maybe we can add that real quick. If not, we can stop in like 30 minutes or 15 minutes and have another session next week where we can expand on this and add more stuff to it. But I don't know. You guys let me know if you're okay with going 1 more hour and add this little extra functionality to the appointments. That's fine. If you guys are okay with it just being like they are, just the way it is, we can leave it like that. It's totally functional, and it's a good introduction to Filament. Or if you guys want to see it but it's been going for too long, we can think about another session. Just let me know. So the table, create appointments, appointments resource. We need to create a table for this. Tables, columns, text column. Let's start with the description. No, the pet. Let's make it searchable and sortable. Let's add that. All right, I'm down to it. Sortable. Yeah, because mainly that will give us the opportunity to also learn about actions in our tables, because it will be better. It will be a better user experience if within the same table you can just click a button and either confirm or cancel an appointment. I think that'll be a good feature. Say searchable, sortable, but let's finish the table first, and we'll move on to that in just a moment. So we have a pet name and should have a date as well. So let's copy this. Ooh, didn't copy right. Come on. There you go. This will be for the date. Let's add one more for the start time. This is a date column as well. So searchable, sortable. Shouldn't be searchable, just sortable. And let's make it a date. Now this is for the start time. Again, maybe just sortable. Let's make it a time column with a 12-hour format. And let's change the label. And let's call it from. Copy this, and we need one more for the end date, end time, sorry. And the label will be 2. See how that looks? Nice. So pet, Lola, date, from, to, and we should have the description here too. Let's put it right in between the, either put it here or at the end. Yeah, let's put it right next to the pet name. All right, excellent. That should do it for appointments. Now let's move on to adding that custom actions to it. Let me think. First of all, we need a new column in our database because we currently don't have a column for the status of it. So we're going to have to modify the table. So let's create a new migration for that. Let's see. Update appointments table at status column. That should do it. So for updating, it's not schema create, is it? It's just schema table. And we pass in the blueprint. And then the callback function. No, wait. How is it? How is it? Ah, just the table name, sorry. Table name, appointments. And in the function, in the callback function, we pass the blueprint. Here we say table. What do we want the status to be? Probably just a string as well. We're going to do something similar to the thing that we did with pet types. So we're going to use an enum as well. Thanks, man. Yeah, I got it. My brain works in a way that if I don't do something often, I just forget about it. That's why I'm always going back to the documentation pages of everything like Filament and Laravel, because if I don't do something constantly, I forget how it's done. And blueprints and migrations is one thing that I don't generally use. So thank you for the help. So we need a string column. Let's call it status. Should we make this a default? Yeah, let's give it a default of created. Yeah, I know most developers are like this. I mean, I know I am, but that's just my mind. I have a terrible time keeping information and remembering stuff. So that's why I'm even PHP stuff, like basic stuff, basic functions. I always have to go back to the PHP documentations and try to remember, wait, the date function was, what was the parameter? What was the second parameter? Stuff like that. That's why IntelliFence is so useful for me as well. And in the down, let's just schema. Wait. Dropping a column. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna go and rather just check the documentation. I know you guys are screaming at me right now. It's time for me to leave. Thank you very much. I learned a ton. See you next time. Yeah. See you next time. Appreciate you showing up. Don't worry about it. We're gonna have this. It's gonna be in the channel if you want to watch it later. Schema drop it. Thank you so much. Thank you for saving me the time to go into the documentation. Thank you. Go ahead, take a nap, go do your thing, and appreciate you showing up. PHP artisan make migration, add status column to appointment table. So if I do it like that, it comes with the blueprint right away. Pretty sure I add status column. Interesting. I'll keep that in mind for next time. Schema drop if exist drop column. Appointments. Status. Just like that. I don't really need to add this. I don't see myself rolling back, but just to be consistent. That should do it. Let's go back and run this migration real quick. All right. And just 1 second, I want to check my notes here, because I know I've done this before. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's go. Let's close this and this. We are going to need a new enum for the appointment statuses. So appointment have a terrible time with this word. Appointment status. So this is enum. String. Don't forget the namespace. And let's see, we are going to have 3 status basically. So created, which is the first one, and the default. Then we can move to confirmed. And finally, cancelled. For simplicity's sake, let's just use this. There could be an extra status like rescheduled, but in that case, we would just update the date and just have it to be confirmed or created in either way. We could have a reschedule one, and if we edit the resource, we change the status to rescheduled. But for simplicity's sake, let's just keep it simple and just 3 status: created, confirmed, or cancelled. And don't forget, let's not forget to add the implements has label trait. I'm gonna copy. No, it's very simple. Public function get label, return match this self created created confirmed cancelled. Okay. Oh, we're gonna have I'm surprised. Oh, because we added a default, right? So if we had not added a default to our migration, the migration would have failed because the field is not nullable. But since we added a default, that means that the one appointment that we have should have a status of created already. And let's not forget to cast our status column to an enum. Open the appointment model, protected, casts, status, appointment status class. And if we go to our appointment resource, to the table, let's try to display this here. Tables, columns, text column, make status. Sortable? Yeah. Perfect. Now, I believe Filament also has an option to use enums in order to create colors or colored badges for the different entries of the enum class. I believe I've seen this. Enum colors, yes. In order to do that, we just need to implement the hasColor trait and then define what color each of the enum cases should have. So let's say if the appointment is created, probably I'll have that on yellow, maybe a warning, just so that everyone knows that the appointment has to be confirmed. When it's confirmed, that should be success, and then when cancelled, we can use danger. So I'm just going to copy this function from here, go back to the enum, and then implement the hasColor trait, and then paste that function here, and then we can use self created and do warning for that. Confirmed, that'll be success. And cancelled would be danger. And now I think using the enum color with a text column in your table, we can use the badge method on the column. So let's do that. Save this first, and then appointment resource, and instead of a text column, well, no, use a text column, but then use the badge method. And the way this should work is that the badge method will automatically check if the column has a hasColor trait, and if it is an enum, then it will look for that color and assign that color to the badge. So yes, perfect. Okay, so we have a status, and we have different colors for the status on the table with minimum effort. Now we should create a couple of actions next to the edit so that we can, in one click, either confirm or cancel the appointment. I hope it hasn't changed. I know how it worked in version 2. Let's see if it has changed in version 3. So we have this section here for actions, and we only have the edit action as of now. And now that I mention it, we should have a delete action for owners and pets, but we'll go back. We'll get back to that. So we can create custom actions for our tables, and if I'm not mistaken, let's create a confirm action first. Let me check my notes. So it should be tables actions action make, and this will be the label of the action. Sorry. So let's call it confirm. And to this action we can add the action method to customize what this action do. And this will take a callback function. And to this callback function we can inject the model or the record that we are dealing with. In this case, the appointment record. So all we have to do is type hint appointment, and let's call it record. So this action callback function is what's going to happen if I click the action on the table. So what should happen? Change the status of the appointment from created to confirmed, right? So we can do record status and set that to appointment status confirmed, and then record save. And just to make it look pretty, we can also give this a color. Let's make this action color a success. And also let's add an icon to it. So I think that just go action and use one of the hero icons, and I believe we can use hero icon O for outline, and check. Let's see how that looks. There you go. I would have liked if it was before the edit. Yeah, let's move the edit action after this confirm action. Ooh, what happened? Like that. Okay. Much better. So what's going to happen is that I can click this and the appointment should go from created to confirmed without moving away from the table. Isn't that great? I mean, come on. Now, and the confirmed status changes colors because enums and filament magic. All right, so one thing that we should do is that we should not be able to see the action if the appointment is already confirmed. We should not be reconfirming an appointment, so let's work on that. I believe we have, yeah, we can use something to make the action visible or invisible depending on something that we define. So we can do, for example, let's say visible, and this takes either a Boolean or a callback function. And that callback function will return a Boolean, and if it is true, then it's visible, and if it's false, then it's not visible. So let's do function. Actually, we could do a shorthand in this case, because all I want to do is make sure that if the appointment status is confirmed, then the action should not be visible. So we can do fn. We can again type hint the appointment record in this case. Fat arrow, and then we just do record status. Let's see, let's think. What do we need to do here? Well, okay. So we only show the confirm button if the appointment is on the created status. So we can only move an appointment from created to confirmed if it is on the created state. So if status equals to sorry, water. Equals to appointment status created. So if the appointment is created, we can confirm it. So the action should be visible. Otherwise, it would be invisible. So at this point, that should disappear as soon as I reload the page. And it does. Perfect. And just to make sure that that is working, we are going to go back into the edit form, and we need a way to change the status here, now that I think about it. So let's do that. We should be able to modify the status if we want to. So go back to the form up here. And let's do forms, components, select, status. I'm missing a comma here. And since this is an enum, we can use options and just pass the appointment status class like this. But we should only be able to change the status of an appointment once it has been created, because when you create an appointment, it's going to be created by default. You shouldn't create an appointment and default the status to cancel, for example, or confirmed. Well, we could. But just for learning purposes, let's find out how we can hide an input from a form depending on which action we're taking, either creating or updating a record. So let me check my notes again real quick. So, in order to make this field visible only to the edit page, all we need to do is say visible on, and then we pass the pages edit appointment class, like so. So that means that this field, this select field, is only going to be visible and available if we are editing a record, not creating one. So let's go check it out. And yeah, the status is here. We can change it to native, sorry. Native false. There should be an option for making this the default somewhere in the configuration. And there probably is. I'll find out. But for now, let's do it like this. So let's change the status from confirmed to created, just to make sure that the action is going to be visible. And there it is. So if it is created, we have the option to confirm. So if we click confirm, the action goes away and the appointment is confirmed. Perfect. Now we need the option to cancel an appointment. So let's do that. Let's copy the confirm action because it's going to be very similar. Let's copy this, paste it here. Let's call it cancel. In this case, the action should be status canceled. Then save the record. We can only cancel. We cannot recancel. Oh, sorry. We can only see this action if the appointment. Well, we should always have the option to cancel it, even if it is created. So let's just leave it. Let's not use the visible in this case. Maybe someone created an appointment and they right away cancel the appointment, so we should be able to cancel an appointment even if it's not confirmed. So no visible required. Color danger. And the icon, let's what would be the icon for this? X. Let me see what I used. Yeah, X. Simple. Okay, let's see how that looks. Ooh, problem. OX, not so, we don't have an X? Wow, okay. Hero icon OX doesn't exist. Let me, well, let's use trash then. Trash. Was it X or something different? Hold on. It changed. It used to be hero icon OX, but now it's not available. So trash is there. Let me just do a little search for hero icons. X mark. Okay. Let's use that then. OX mark. Yeah, thank you. I got it. Yep, like it better. So let's go back into edit again. Change this to created. So we have two options, either confirm or cancel. We can confirm and the cancel action stays there for the entirety. And we should hide it once it's canceled, shouldn't we? So we click cancel, now it's canceled, this should go away. Let's do that. So we do need the visible back. Let's copy it from here. Ooh, not cut, copy. So we should only display this if the appointment is not canceled, right? If it's not canceled, it's visible. If it is canceled, it's not visible. So in this case, since it is canceled, it's gone. Perfect. All right, I think that's all for appointments, I believe. There's one more thing we should think about. What happens when we delete a pet? We should also delete the file associated with that pet. But I don't know. How long have we gone for already? 3 hours. Yeah. Let's do this. I think we're gonna leave it here. We have a very functional project already. I think the only things that I want to change at this point is we should make sure that when we delete a pet, that we delete the file. Not only that, make sure that the cascade on delete works, so that when we delete a pet, all of the appointments for the pet are gone. And I think I want to create a custom theme for this, because even though the dark theme is great, for the light theme, cascade on delete, yeah, the cascade on delete is basically, we define that on the migration. Let me show you. When we define the create appointments table. Yeah, when we created the appointments table, we defined a foreign ID to pets, and we define a cascade on delete, meaning that if the parent record, in this case the pet record, is deleted, the database will take care of deleting all of the related records in the database. So we don't really have to take care of that. Just want to make sure that that works. I don't have the option to delete pets as of now, but I should add it and make sure that that works. Also, even though we are able to add files and add images to our pets, Filament doesn't take care of deleting those files. That's the responsibility of the developer. So we should add the ability to, before deleting a record, we should also make sure that the file on the file system is deleted as well. So we're going to do that. The other thing I want to do is change the theme for the light version of the panel. Maybe add some blues here. I like blue. And also change the icons and do some customization to the panel. But core functionality is there. So I think we have gone for 3 hours already, and we can leave this for another session, maybe next week, same time. And yeah, so thank you so much for showing up. You guys taught me a lot. I hope this was helpful for you too, guys. And as always, if you found this stream helpful, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.